Good evening all. Welcome to yet another show of Racing Over You. 8.5 of my AM Doyle, who was playing Mighty Boys and I'm at the Fisher Studio coming to you at the live show. If you're in the car at home feeding with kids or whatever you're doing, sit back for the next half hour and enjoy the show. Tonight we're talking about one of my favourite topics, Texas. But before we do, welcome to one of our old positions, right, guys?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for welcoming me.
Hello, but about a year, she's about on my ear, and welcome to the Mother Worker Born.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Born.
Oh, good afternoon, Peter, and thanks for having me here.
Okay, before we start tonight's program, we have a guest coming up on the phone. But before we do that, I would like to send out a very big career to all the carers out there, all the mums and dads who care for their kids, all the carers who come in for the kids at your work. I hope you're enjoying work. I hope you got some good activities first. And I hope you come on care for another year. Now, in November, we have a very, very special event. It's our first Q&A question and answer for people with disabilities to ask my people in some power, some questions. On the 25th of November at Burning House, at the Motley Club Center Drill Hall on the corner of Victoria Street and Elizabeth Street, Melbourne. As I said, on the 25th of November, and at 1:30, so if you're part of the self-advocacy group, or you're self-advocate yourself, or you work with people with disabilities, bring them along and enjoy the day. Here at 1:30 on the 25th of November, which is a Wednesday, and we will be doing a couple of half-hour shows out of there. So if you can't come, you can enjoy it on the radio. And we have a great panel on that day with all the people from all the organisations that we work with, a couple of self-advocates, and about hopefully 200 guests we hope. Done before.
Well, I think the hall's big enough to take that many, and I think it would be well worth going. So, yep, we can take 200. So, if you want to see your own homegrown Q&A, don't worry about watching the one on TV. Just come and see ours. Be a part of it.
And I'm not Tony Jones, but for the day I am Tony Jones, and I'll make you more than welcome.
More than welcome.
More. So give a mind a ring on 96502722 or so advocacy resource center on 996396856. I hope I got that right for it. Yeah, I made a book. I made a 9650 2722. Sorry about that. Okay, let's start our show. How do you want to start, Paul?
Well, we're talking about taxis. I'll just give you a little bit of background. People who are users of the multi-purpose taxi program would know that when you're a person with a disability or you've got mobility issues, having that card that gives you half-price taxi is fantastic because, after all, as we all know, our public transport system is not at all very accessible. And although it is improving, it really isn't something we can rely upon. And for a lot of people, it's pretty difficult to use public transport. So if you want to go somewhere, a lot of the time it means using a taxi. If you're a person with a wheelchair, you need to book one of the wheelchair accessible taxis and you've got to pay. And taxis are very expensive, as we all know, and going up. So the program, it's called the Multipurpose Taxi Program, has been going since about 1983. And if people have mobility issues and difficulty using public transport, they can apply for that card that gives them half price. At the moment, though, that the government is reviewing that scheme. So we wanted to have a bit of a look at the scheme, a look at the taxis and some of the issues for people with a disability, and just put our heads together about what we would like to say to the government with this review coming on. One of the things that we were a bit concerned about was that they might be thinking of scrapping it. The last time this program was reviewed, they were considering scrapping it. But in their press release and in their information they've put out a discussion paper. They're saying that they're committed to maintaining and improving the multi-purpose taxi program as a critical part of Victoria's transport network. The program must keep up with the needs of users, changes to the taxi and hire car industry, and the emergence of the National Disability Insurance Program. So they're reviewing it to take into account all of those things, but as I said, they're saying they are committed to it continuing. They're committed to maintaining it and improving it. So that's at least a good thing, and I think we need to tell them, if people have a say in the review, that it really is important that it continues. So what I thought we might do is just have a look at some of the issues with taxis, and you guys have plenty, I'm sure, but also we're going to phone a big taxi user, Ariane, and have a chat to her over the phone as well. So we're giving her a call now. Hi, Ariane.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Raising Our Voices, Ariane.
I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm really well, and I've got Ray and Pete here in the studio to have a bit of a chat about taxis.
Hi, fellas.
Hello?
Good day, everyone. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
So there's lots of problems with taxis, and some of the ones that the government's put in its discussion paper you might be familiar with. So waiting times for taxis to come. Ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
guys?
That's always a massive issue.
What about booking problems?
Booking issues. There's nothing like getting... there's been so many times where I've booked a cab and they have not sent me the wheelchair accessible one.
Yep.
They send you a normal taxi and then you're like, but I booked through the wheelchair booking line, and they're like, oh, they must have not put that through in the system. And it's like, what's the point in having a separate line if they're not always going to get it right every time?
It's
Unbelievable.
It's pretty bad, and I know, Ray, you've had problems like that too, trying to book
Yes, I had problems around that line.
And you're trying to book a station wagon for you because you've got your walking frame.
Yeah.
And instead an actual wheelchair accessible taxi turns up, which Ray can't use because he can't step up into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not very good at listening.
No.
I believe also
more.
they don't, but they also charge you to book them. Is that right?
Yeah, you get a $2 booking fee, and if if you book privately, that fee is meant to go, but a lot of private cabbies still charge you the $2 fee.
Yeah, you were telling me before when we were setting up for this interview that you think that the Victorian Taxi Directorate Review was trying to discourage people from using private drivers. Is that still the case, do you think?
Oh, well, I think when a lot of people had an outcry about the waiting times and the fact that they were still going to use private drivers, they were like, okay. But what I was talking to a mate of mine that actually has a disability and is a scooter, but he is also a former taxi driver.
Wow.
He said to me that there needs to be some sort of system that instead of waiting for someone to take the job, someone sits there and allocates them a job so that people can't pick and choose what jobs they go for, so there's not a long waiting time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You might have someone sitting 5 minutes away, but they might not think your job's far enough to go, so they might not accept the job. Whereas if you have a system like that, they have to.
I mean, I've been going in taxi for years and years and years. The drivers I go with has always said to me that the big jobs are the short jobs.
The best jobs are the short jobs.
Yes, because you can do one short job in one day and big job and make more money on the short job. So I don't see that issue.
Well, I know one of the issues, Pete, that that was identified in the discussion paper was that plenty of people have found drivers won't take them on short trips.
Why? Because I don't think about it before I take it. If I thought about it, I would realise that take small job and that's the more than one big job.
Well, that's probably something that they need to think about, or we can tell them about. Because you're right, if they're collecting someone in a wheelchair-accessible taxi, they also now get a lifting fee. That's right, isn't it, Ariane?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the fee's gone up from, I think, $13 when they started doing that to now $16.
16.
$16.
But I don't have a problem with that because that encourages drivers to do wheelchair work. I really don't have a problem with that.
No, well, I think in the review they do want to look at whether the lifting fee should be there. It's meant to be an incentive as well as to help the driver with his time. It's also meant to be an incentive to get more wheelchair taxis working with people who need them.
I would say my bigger issue with wheelchair taxis is those drivers who want to wheelchair. Those drivers who would rather do what they call talent work to the airport and sit at the airport rather than do wheelchair.
You know what? I was just about to say that.
So they don't get the lifting fee if they do airport work, though?
No.
No.
And I mean, it's not more for a taxi driver. If you were planning to do wheelchair before you go out in that cab, so why is the problem with doing
And the other thing that I was going to raise with you earlier, Pauline, that I forgot to raise with you is that they actually, to maintain a wheelchair cab license, you only have to pick up 4 people in wheelchairs per calendar month.
Wow. That's given them a really easy way out, isn't it? That should be lifted, perhaps.
But I also, but let's be fair, I'm going to be on the other side. I do know drivers who've got a number 19, 12 to fit one wheelchair. I die. So we're not all bad drivers.
No.
We do have some wonderful drivers out there who do wheelchair work, and we have to encourage the other particularly to come on board and do our work.
I wonder if we should put into our comments to the review that maybe the lifting fee should also be for drivers assisting people with walking frames, because I know that's something that Ray's had issues with, haven't you, where the driver doesn't necessarily want to take you and help you.
They won't help at all.
No, they don't want to have to fold up your frame and put it in the boot, and they're not getting anything extra for it, so they don't want to do it.
That's weird, because I know that you can't, Ray, you can't use the lift on the wheelchair accessible ones, but the other thing is that they have to do stuff like that. They have to help you, like, put your frame down and secure it and all that sort of stuff. That's part of their license. So it should be part of everybody's license, really.
And I think that goes to poor service, which again is one of the things the discussion paper picked up.
It goes to words. There's 2 words I have to read, and that is customer service.
Customer service, yeah.
If you want to run a good taxi, you will provide good customer service.
Now, speaking
of, to run a bad taxi, you won't.
Speaking of bad taxis, we all know there's been some fraud in this system. One of the ideas coming out in the review is that your multi-purpose taxi card would have photo on it of you so that other people can't use your card.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it's not just other people using your card. It's in some situations, you might have a friend that needs to borrow your card, but it also is to stop people from claiming. I've had people claim lifting fees even when they haven't actually picked me up.
Yeah, so they've had your card details and they've just put it through even though you weren't even there.
If you want
exactly.
If you want my idea, I agree with that. I mean, a father could be on my card. That's to me that always should have been in. Cards can be stolen, but if you're not on that card, you cannot use it.
Yeah, they have been stolen, I'm sure. And but the thing is, if your card gets stolen, you have to pay to get a new card, don't you?
Yeah, it's a $15 fee to get a new one, and then you have to wait about 2 weeks to get it. So
in the meantime, you can't use a taxi.
Yeah, so I thought that they should give you a receipt. They should do 2 things for that. Take away the fee for getting a new card and give you a receipt for the card.
That you've booked the new one.
Which then can act as a, interim sort of thing, like what they give you for your driver's license.
Very good idea.
When you get a new driver's license.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, we all agree with that one. Another good idea there. One of the other things they're talking about with this review is that I think they've realised that they've kind of made a bit of a mistake. When they made the eligibility for this card, they said you could only get the card if you couldn't use public transport. But, of course, they actually don't want people to not use public transport. They want people to use the accessible transport that they're putting in.
And they want to use taxis.
And use taxis as well, that's right. But they've made it so that you can only get the card if you absolutely can't use public transport, which is a bit, they've realised they made a mistake there. And so they want to change it and make it so that the eligibility is that if you've got a limited capacity to use public transport safely and independently, that's okay, you can get the card.
Well, can I also tell you that the whole thing about not being able to get a public transport card and a taxi card doesn't work anyway, because I have both and I have a lot of friends who have both.
Yeah, so it's sort of been happening under the counter anyway, hasn't it?
Exactly, because they're run by different...
They're run by different firms, are they?
Yeah, they are.
Taxi companies aren't run by the government. They're run privately. So, whereas the public transport system is run by the government.
Okay, guys, 25 appreciate radio and 5 and I enjoy. We're going to Ariane put out information about the taxi review.
And we've got just scratched the surface of this issue. There's obviously lots of issues with it. There's, at the moment, I know for wheelchair users, it's unlimited use with your card, whereas for other people, there's a cap. That's another issue that might need to be looked at in the review. And also group travel. At the moment, if there's 2 or 3 of you in the taxi, only one of you can use your card. And again, they want to look at that. They're even looking at...
But then again, sorry to interrupt, they do use both cards in one way because, again, I was talking to you about this earlier. They want to get double the lifting fee.
Yes,
so
of course they do.
Both your cards, but they only cut it in half once.
Yeah, they just break the trip in half. Yeah. They're good at finding ways around it, those taxi drivers. But so if people want to have a say in the review, what we should probably do is give them some of these details. There's a government website you can go to. It's the economic development. That's one word, economic development. .vic.gov.au/MPTP -review. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Shall I say it again?
That is a very long internet address.
It's a big website. So maybe you could just Google multi-purpose taxi program review and I reckon you'll find it. But they do have a 1-800 number. I'll tell you the number.
You might need to get a piece of paper if you're listening.
Yeah, grab some paper. Pete, can you read that out for our listeners?
1-800-887. That's 1-800-864-887. Get involved because more people will be.
They're going to have workshops through October and November, right through Melbourne and in the country. Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so
That's a good idea.
go to a workshop and have your say. Definitely the thing to do.
Especially if you're in a rural area, because rural areas don't often get these things coming to them. So if you're in a rural area...
Time to wind up, Ariane.
I'm going to cut you off. You've been listening to Radio from coming
This is Ray Groves signing off.
Hello, Muddy Boy. Thank you, Paul and William. And Molly say a special hello to our panel operator, Mr. Gabby.
And and a special thank you to Ariane on the phone line. Thanks, Ariane.
Thank you, Ariane. Till
It's all right, guys.
Till next month, signing off. Big I have a command. Lord, believe in people falling on me like I would not back up. Oh, thank you.
And up next, Tamil Voices.
Able-bodied Australia does not realise that people with disabilities across the board are being discriminated against. Then the government to demand that we go out and get a job without removing the disincentives like the lack of access to transport and community infrastructure, without providing accessible buildings that can provide barrier-free employment. I'm not getting a fair go, and I don't like it, and I'm saying so.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.